You know the scene. It's a familiar, heartbreaking winter tragedy. You have this beautiful houseplant, maybe a tropical you've been tending to all year. You give it light, you give it water, you do everything right. And then one morning you find it just drooping, limp. It's a shadow of its former self. Well, you've just stumbled upon a crime scene, and a silent, invisible killer is on the loose. So grab your detective hat, because today we're solving the case of the cold windowsill. So you start running through the possibilities, right? Did I water it too much? Not enough light? You might even blame yourself. But the truth is, it's often way more complicated than that. Even when you think you've done everything by the book, there's this hidden force at play. A danger that can turn your plant's favorite sunny spot into its absolute worst enemy. And here's the thing that's so wild about it. The killer isn't some rare pest or a mysterious disease. Nope, it's a fundamental force of physics, and it's been lurking in the one place you probably thought was the safest for your plant.
Okay, so to crack this case, we have to treat the windowsill like a literal crime scene. And think about it. Most of our beloved houseplants, they're tropical. They evolved in places that are warm all year round. They simply do not have the biological tools to handle a sudden cold snap. So when one of their leaves just rests against that chilly window pane, it's not just getting a little cold, it's a direct physical assault.
This is where the plot really thickens. This quote from our source material perfectly captures the windowsill's double life in winter. By day, it's exactly what your plant needs, a great source of sun. But by night, it transforms into this dangerous thermal sink, actively pulling the warmth, the very life, right out of your plant.
To really get what's going on, we need to zoom way in. We're essentially performing a forensic autopsy right down at the cellular level to see exactly how this cold killer does its damage.
And what we find are two main causes of death. First up, on the left, you've got chilling injury. Now this is sneaky because it happens at temperatures above freezing. The cell membranes, which are normally flexible and fluid, literally stiffen up into this leaky, rigid gel. But on the right, you've got freezing injury, and that's just brittle. The water inside the cells forms sharp little ice crystals that physically shred the cell walls from the inside out. So one's a chemical sabotage, the other is a straight-up physical attack.
So here's your evidence checklist for your own plants. See it wilting even though you know the soil is perfectly moist? That's because the plant's internal plumbing system is shot. Those ugly dark blackened patches you might see, that's necrosis. We're talking about widespread cell death. You can use this coroner's report to diagnose exactly what happened at your own windowsill crime scene.
All right, we've examined the victim. Now it's time to turn our investigation to the crime scene itself. We need to unmask the invisible forces that are actually responsible for this thermal assault.
And it turns out we have two main culprits here. First, there's conduction. That's just heat transfer through direct touch. So when a leaf is physically resting against that cold pane of glass, the window literally sucks the warmth right out of it. And second, there's radiation. See, even if it's not touching, your plant is always radiating its own heat. At night, a cold window acts like a thermal black hole, just pulling that heat away and making the leaf's temperature drop even lower than the air in the room.
So just how cold are we talking? Well, this is the smoking gun. When it is freezing outside 0 degrees Celsius, the inside surface of a standard single-pane window can be just 5 degrees Celsius. That's 41 Fahrenheit. Now, remember that slide on chilling injury? That whole process kicks off around 8 degrees. This window isn't just chilly, it's cold enough to cause immediate, catastrophic damage.
And this chart really drives the point home, showing why not all windowsills are the same. I mean, look at that massive difference. That dangerously low 5 degrees on a single-pane window jumps all the way up to a much safer 14.9 on a double-glazed one, and then it's practically room temperature at 18.4 on a triple-glazed window. It's a direct link. The more insulation you have, the better your plant's chances of survival are.
Okay, the investigation is pretty much over. We know who did it, and we know how they did it. So now we pivot to solutions. How do we fortify this dangerous zone, and, more importantly, how do we perform some emergency first aid on any survivors?
All right, if you find one of your plants suffering from cold shock, this is your emergency protocol. First thing, get it away from the cold immediately. Just move it to a warmer spot, but don't blast it with heat. Next, water it, but only with room temperature water. Now this next one is crucial. Do not fertilize it. Its system is in shock. That's like asking someone with the flu to go run a marathon. And finally, resist that urge to immediately prune off all the sad-looking leaves. Just wait, be patient, and wait for new growth to appear in the spring.
For long-term defense, here's your go-to toolkit. You know, things like caulking and weather stripping are fantastic for stopping those chilly drafts. But check out window film. It's rated highly effective because it creates an insulating pocket of dead air between the film and the glass. It's basically like adding another pane to your window, and it really raises that surface temperature.
And hey, you can also get a little creative with some DIY solutions. A sheet of bubble wrap pressed against a misted window is a surprisingly awesome insulator. Or you can place a simple cork board on the sill itself to stop cold from seeping up into the pot and shocking the roots. Oh, and a quick but important warning on thermal curtains. Make sure your plant is on the warm room side of the curtain, not trapped behind it overnight in its own personal freezer.
Now, beyond the window itself, let's quickly cover some other common winter care traps. Number 1 is overwatering. With less light, plants just aren't as thirsty. Also, don't put them right next to a radiator. That sudden dry heat is just as stressful as a cold draft. And speaking of dry heat, your home's air is probably much drier in winter, so think about boosting the humidity. And finally, please don't repot during the winter. Your plants are dormant and they just can't handle that kind of stress.
Of course, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So let's talk about choosing plants that are naturally built to handle the front lines of a chilly winter windowsill.
Now, you might think all succulents are desert tough, but that's a really common myth. Many popular ones, like aloes, are full of water and will turn to absolute mush if they get hit with a frost. But then you have others, like sempervivum, that are incredibly cold-hardy and can survive freezing. And some are in the middle, like calanches, which can handle cooler drafts and will even bloom for you in the winter.
And if you want some super reliable green allies for those tougher spots, this is your crew. The cast iron plant absolutely lives up to its name. Cyclamen and the Christmas cactus actually prefer cooler temperatures to trigger their blooms. And of course, the classic snake plant is famously indestructible, making it a perfect choice for a spot where temperatures might be a little unpredictable.
So when you put this all together, when you look at all the evidence, the crucial takeaway is this. Your windowsill isn't just another part of your room. It is its own unique, often extreme, microclimate. And learning to understand and manage that specific little environment, that is the absolute key to helping your plants not just survive the winter, but actually thrive.
And that kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? We've just pulled back the curtain on the hidden world of a windowsill. So it makes you wonder, what other invisible forces and tiny hidden ecosystems are at play all around us, quietly shaping our everyday lives?